congratulations. Obviously, the big result looked like you're going for it at the end. So you celebrate for the fans. Just tell us what that meant to you.
Of course, winning is important, but I think just being back here in front of our fans, it's actually crazy to think. My last game was the Arsenal game in 2019. It's the first time I've been back in the stadium since then, because of COVID and because of the MLS schedule and the WSL schedule not sort of matching. So it was important for me tonight to the team put a performance in that I believe reflects us in this stadium. And I really wanted to win the game for the fans tonight.
I suppose how much confidence does it give you, the fact that you've got this 2-0 lead going into the second round again? The difference between 2-0 and 1-0.
Yeah, but I've been in these games where the ties flip really quickly. I think we wanted to win tonight. We've won with a 2-goal lead. We can put that one away now and concentrate on the league game, because our league position isn't where we want it, and Sunday's game becomes crucial to us. And then we'll prepare for the Stamford Bridge game after that. And we know any game against Chelsea is going to be incredibly difficult. We were really disappointed after the League Cup game because I felt that we were in it and we fell the wrong side of a tight game. So tonight, I think for me, the confidence and the belief comes from knowing that we can play whatever game is in front of us, right? We had to suffer tonight. We had to sit and defend our goal at times. And, we're known for being a good possession team, but, our threat on the counter-attack was there. So for me, it's about evolving this team into a winning team.
That gives a masterclass of yourself in terms of the way that you set the team up, set to look really aggressive and impressive in the front. How would you sum up the I suppose quick changes you've made in the last week?
The work that's been done here has been, to get the team to where it is now is high level, because the team wouldn't be in Champions League quarterfinals or League Cup finals, FA Cup semi-finals if the work wasn't good. For me, it's about how do you make sure that you're a threat against the top teams, because you don't win trophies unless you can beat the best. So for me, we have to be a threat in every phase of the game. We have to have that presence in the game, even when Chelsea are pushing the game, because that's how you win, these tight games, these critical games. So, I was pleased tonight as the game went on. Caroline started to be a threat in the game. Obviously, Viv came off the bench. We knew that she would be a threat. For us, it's about making sure, especially when we're at home, that we have a real presence in the game and we're a threat throughout.
Amy?
Was part of the reason to keep her putting her on the bench because of the impact that she could have on it, obviously.
Yeah, the reality is I fight with my staff and will continue to fight with my staff when they tell me that you have to rotate and this. And the reality is it's tough for a team with so much strain on it with injuries to just keep rolling, and we were good in the League Cup final, but we didn't win. We were good tonight. It's tight. It's going to be tough again to turn this team around. And, we do have depth in the team, but not at this moment because of the injuries. And you look at Chelsea bringing up, multiple internationals off the bench. We don't have that luxury because Bunny's out and Alba's out and Alex is out and Lauren's out. So, we have to try and find small ways of getting wins. And Viv starting on the bench tonight and coming off the bench is a bit of a gamble because you want to stay in the game. It's a great opportunity for Lily, but I knew that Viv would be able to come for 45 and be a huge presence in the game, and you can see that with the result.
Sandra?
Hi, Nick. Congrats on the win. How important was it psychologically, particularly with those injuries to Shaw, Virginia and with Lauren Head not being back, to get this win, clean sheet against Chelsea side that's been on this massive unbeaten run, particularly going into the league game?
Yeah, I think my personality, part of my remit for coming here is to give this team my personality and to just be the person that I am. This organisation knows me inside out, and I say that because I love the challenge and I see it more as an opportunity. I'm obviously disappointed that we lose Bunny Shaw and we don't have our key players, but I see it as an opportunity. Caroline has been pushing since I've been here to show me that she wants to play in these big games, so it's an opportunity for her. Jess Park was incredibly disappointed not to play in the final after playing really well against Aston Villa. So for me, to be a team that competes for every trophy, everybody has to be ready. Whether you have young players, if you're going to put these players in the squad, you have to believe in them, and you have to, go into big games. I remember putting Kira Walsh into a game in Notts County in 2014 when she came from Blackburn's under-17s. I believe in the players, and for me, it's about trusting them, putting them in the team, and telling them to go attack the opposition.
Tom?
Two-part question on the Myanmar, please. Firstly, just how impressed you were with the quality of the finishing and the kind of instinctiveness of that. But also, in the years that you've been working in America, she's been moved deeper and deeper and deeper by Arsenal and now City. And tonight, as a striker, I just wonder, is this her best position? Like, is this where you think she's still her most effective?
Her finishing didn't surprise me because in my last tenure, she scored against us every time we played. We play a Conti Cup final in 2017. She scored the winner. I was actually joking about her with that. I don't know if she's a number 9, number 10. I understand why people have moved her deeper. She wants the ball and she wants to be involved in the game, and that's because naturally she understands the game really well and she's a huge impact player. For me, it's about getting her close to the goal. Tonight shows if you get her close to the goal, she can create and score for you. And however we set the team up, I don't want to take Viv's strengths away by having her deeper and working to get the ball back. I think for me, winning teams is about blend and balance, and I don't think you get the best of Viv by putting her close to our box. I think it's by getting her close to the opposition box. So, I think she can go in the number 9, but that affects, it's who you blend around her. I think tonight you saw the best of Caroline when Viv come on, because Viv will come deeper and that opens up spaces and she can link and then Caroline can go running. So I think it's about the blend of how you put the right pieces around each other to make sure you get the best out of each individual.
And with Caroline, she seems to have great joy when running directly at the Chelsea defenders. Is that something that you asked her to do tonight?
Yeah, we're a possession team, right? So we play a lot of possession and long periods of possession, but I don't think you're going to get the best of Caroline by asking her to receive it and pass it. She's got to be faced up and running in behind and playing a real attacking style of the game. And I think as the game started to open, it starts to suit players like Caroline, and you got to embrace that and you got to use those strengths, because I think to beat Chelsea, you got to find a way to win. And really pleased about how we defended our goal tonight, but I think you saw that we had a threat throughout the game.
Catherine?
Hi Nick, can you talk about young players? You mentioned you're at the League Cup final, but Grace Empire obviously, she's had her opportunities mainly because of the players have been injured, but she looks really at home at this level, and how impressed have you been with her?
Yeah, incredibly impressed. I think these moments are, they can swing both ways, because you want to give young players an opportunity, but you also don't want to force them to play too much. But at the moment she's having to play, but at the same time, if we had other players, I still wouldn't take her out, right? Because she's proven that she can play in these huge games, that she can, you look at the way Chelsea set up twice that to allow her to dictate the game, to allow her to make the game. And that brings a lot of responsibility when you look at the way that we play. And I think she's embraced that. She's got a real strong mentality. She has learned, she's done a lot of work with the coaches between the League Cup final and tonight, and I thought you saw those improvements. And I think that the best part for me is she's going up against a world-class striker and having to physically compete, but also mentally having to go through that real, pressure moment of playing up against Ramirez. And, they've got world-class players. They're bringing world-class players off the bench, and she sustained her level tonight, so I was really pleased.
Charlotte?
Hi Nick. You went from 4-3-3 and then 4-4-2 the second half. What, was that always planned, or why did you do that? Obviously, it was masterclasses instead.
I don't know about masterclass. I think I said it before. I think that these 4 games are going to evolve. I think it's going to be intriguing to see how the personnel changes and how the tactics change. And I knew that they would come with almost with a strategy. When we jumped with the winger and the fullback, I knew they would come with some kind with Kira in there. She can unlock the game, and she's smart and bright in finding solutions. So I wanted to keep changing it, and I will change it again going into the league game, just to pose Chelsea more problems. I think ultimately we have to create goal chances from our pressing moments, because in possession we're not going to create enough volume to beat these big teams. The volume of our offensive play has to come from set play, has to come from high pressing moments, has to come from counter pressing actions. And I think tonight, just changing the strategy and shifting it is posing more problems. And as the game went, I think you can see that we're creating offensive moments from that. My frustration is we have to be cleaner. We have to make better decisions in the final third, and we have to create bigger chances because we have so many good moments in that phase of the game that we have to be ruthless.
And I know you've still got Nicky and Diego on your coaching staff. You spoke at the weekend about it's about up to you to analyse the performance. Have you had reinforcements from any of the City football group or a performance analysis?
Yeah, I've got a good staff as a whole, but I've brought in another assistant coach, Dan Fradley, that was on my bench in New York. He left in 2023 and works for the organisation supporting all the teams around the world. So normally he's off pitch, and he's been doing that the last 12 months, but he's somebody who was on my bench in 23 and I was worked with as the assistant coach in New York, so I'm very familiar with. He's on the bench, and I brought Steph in to support me as well because she's somebody that is on that coaching journey but knows how to win, has won multiple times with me and with this team, and has a real winning mentality. And I think to bring Steph's leadership in, to be in every day with the team, working on the grass with the team, supporting somebody like Gracie Pryor and helping Alex, our leader, to be a real voice in the dressing room, I've been really pleased with the staff and the way they've supported me.
And Tom?
Just spoken to Viv. I was wondering what her reaction was when he said you were on the bench for this one. And secondly, she was saying that she actually watched the first half and strategised in her mind the impact of the spaces that she could affect when she came on. What does that say about her?
I'm sure you can imagine what Viv said when I didn't name her in the team. I expected it. I expect that from every world-class player when you don't put them in the team. But I think it's not that bit that I think is almost like the defining factor between being a real top player. I think it's what happens when you go on. And far too many times I've seen a player that has been frustrated and has gone in and not been able to turn the frustration into a real world-class performance. And I think tonight you can see the level of Viv, right? Whether she's in or she's out, I said to her half-time. 10 minutes before I said to her, you will go in at half-time. And I knew that before the game. But you're going in to be the difference in a tight game. And to be able to do that, even though you wanted to play all the way through, I think shows her level. And I was confident tonight that if she got chances, she'd score. She's top-level finisher. I just think the team has to create those moments for her and support her in those moments. And I think tonight, you saw many. She's frustrated because she thinks she should have had a hat-trick.
Are you ready for what will be a peed-off Chelsea team coming back into Manchester or something?
When you face a team that hasn't lost, that's won the first trophy of the season, it's going to be difficult. So now that we've beaten them, it's going to be even more difficult. We know this team has a huge desire to continue to win, really well coached by Sonia, an absolute plethora of world-class talent. But you know what? I believe that if you're a together group and you can work hard and you can play whatever game is in front of you, I believe in this group. So my main aim is turning the team around, picking the right team, finding the strategy of how we pose them problems, and just believing in the group.
Any more questions? Yeah, Rich.
Nick, I know you would have probably kept an eye on things here, being part of the City group still over in America and just the affiliation you've had with this club, but you've had to come in basically on the fly, hit the ground running. You've not been given games you could ease into in terms of 4 games against Chelsea. How kind of aware were you of the team's evolution still over the years and of what you were kind of walking back into?
Yeah, I've watched the team. I've followed the games. I'm lucky in New York that all the WSL games and NWSL and Champions League games, I've followed up the women's game just like I've worked in the men's game. It's not ideal to come in mid-season. It's definitely not ideal to come in 4 days before a League Cup final. It's not ideal to come in for playing the team 4 times, the team that hasn't lost. But I think as coaches, you got to relish the challenge, right? The greater the challenge for me, the sort of more exciting it becomes. And we lost the League Cup final, and that was incredibly difficult. We've won tonight, and we roll to the next one. I think I couldn't be more proud of the staff and how they've supported me. Nicky has been top. Diego, those guys have worked with the group, so they've supported me really, really well, and I brought Dan in that knows me inside out. So I think we've got a good blend, and then we brought Steph in that, I nearly put her on today, nearly went in the team. So Yeah, you're only as good as the players you've got and the staff that you've got, and I'm lucky I've got a top group.
I asked this to someone that feels like he's in a time machine tonight. I've been sat in many of your press conferences over the years, but I mean, yeah, first time in 5 years you've been back here. Like, was it quite a surreal experience to walk back in?
Yeah, it was. I think especially with it being a big game, I reflected on a lot of the Champions League games that I've had here, and they're exciting nights, right? But I think I hold the responsibility of being the head coach of Manchester City Women really close to my heart, and the performance is winning is the most important part, but the performance doesn't, the win doesn't come without the performance. So for me, it's about this group believing that they can go and win. I've said before, we had 4 trophies to win. We didn't win the first. The next is the Champions League, the FA Cup, and getting in those Champions League spots for us is as good as a trophy. So, we have to attack the challenge, and it's going to be tough, but every game in the WSL is tough, and we just have to embrace it.
Any more questions? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.